So, hi everyone, in this video, we will see that how to integrate Angular application with Spring Boot to upload and download file in Spring REST actually. So, this application I have developed in the front end using the Angular that is making the API call to our backend Spring Boot application that's take image as an input and store into DB, and it can return the list of all the users or images from database to API. Okay, so this complete application, front end and back end both, I will create from scratch in this video. Okay, so this is the UI page where we have the functionality to add new image and facing the list from backend and showing here in UI page. Okay, so for this, let's create first Spring Boot applications, then we will create Angular one. So to create a Spring Boot application, we will open start.spring.io, and we will select here the project type as Maven and the language as Java. And we can write here the group like com.codingboot or whatever group you want. And artifact name is something like your Spring Boot application name. And after writing these all things, we have to add the dependencies. So the main dependencies we have to use here Spring Babe, because we will create a Spring REST application, and we will be using the Lombok, which is for removing the boilerplate code, and we'll be using here Spring Data JPA to connect with to work with database, and we will be using here MySQL driver to connect MySQL server. So after adding all dependency, you can see Spring Web, which include all Babe and Lombok, JPA, and MySQL here. And Java packaging, jar, and the version we can select here Java 17, which I have installed in my system. And then we will create and generate. So the zip file will be generated. You can extract and you can import in IntelliJ, or if you want to in any IDE, like if you're using Eclipse or Spring Tool Suite, whatever you are using. So let's see here the pom.xml we have, and in pom.xml here, what are the details we have about the project, and we can see the Spring the JPA, and we are using Baby Starter, MySQL connector, and Lombok dependency we are using. If you expand these folders, we have here the main folder Java, and you can see here Spring Boot REST file upload, which is the main application. And let's run this application and see if there is any issue. So you can see here there is an error, like if you want to add an embedded database, or if you're using any external database, then you'll have to specify some Spring Boot properties. So Spring Boot property, I mean Spring property, I mean if whenever you are using Spring.jpa, so these are the property actually, like JDBC URL, username, password, and the MySQL driver, and the direct what we are using. And let's run now. We should not see that error now. So you can see application is started. We are not seeing any error. Okay, so what we will do is, now let's create a few packages. So like controller, we can create entities, or we can have maybe repository. Okay, so let's create a class controller, user controller, which will handle the user request. Here we will be defining the methods to perform all the user related operation. So we'll make it a REST controller, and let's create a user class, that is the entity class we are going to make it, and let's add all the required field. So like string username, and we can add here a byte, because we want to store the image file actually in this one. Okay, so I want to store image in one of the columns. So just let's write the field name as display pics, and ID we have to define, and make it ID, and we can define here some generated value like auto increment, and we have to make it entity, and we can make it something getter setter. This is the Lombok library annotations we are using, and we have to use one more thing here, DDL property, to create the table automatically in the database. So let's run once, and we will see here the database. Let's refresh, and we should see the user table. So user table is created now. You can see the columns, ID, display pics, and username. Okay, so this three this user table is created actually. So what I will do is, in the controller, uh, Here we can create a repository first. So let's create a repository. Using that repository, we can perform the DB operation actually. So the user repository, we can write, and we have to extend the JPA repository, and we have to define here the entity which is mapped to the table, okay, and the ID which I have defined as integer. No need to do anything. And here let's write a method response private user repository. We will do the auto-var. If you want, you can create a service layer, service classes, and you can auto-var your JPA repository, but here I'm just directly using an user controller. And let's define the endpoint method response entity here. That will actually for creating the new record. So I will be taking the input as a username and image which I will store in database. Okay, so this I want to map on the post mapping, and the post mapping we have to write the mapping here, user. uh, if you want, you can map this mapping on class level also. So that will be applied actually for all the methods. So here, if you want to make it on a class level, so we can use the annotation request mapping, and then we can add here user. Okay, so whatever method you will define, that will be applied user. Okay, so if you want to take a parameter as input actually, so what we can do here is we can write at the rate a request param. So request param to take the form actually the form field. So just I'm writing here the string name, and this will actually this is for actually taking input as a text field value, you can say, or form field. And to get the file, we have to use at the rate request part. Okay, and the name of the that key will be the string, and we have to write the multi-part here, multi-part file, where we will get the file details. Okay, so let's make this builder. So I will create the user object actually. So create, let's user dot builder, sorry, um user dot builder dot username. Okay, so the username, whatever I'm getting from the back front end, like name, and I can use here the image uh, display pic, and this is the byte format. So the file dot get bytes. So whatever file we will get from front end, that here I'm doing getting the bytes and build. So it will throw some exception. We can add the logics to handle the exception, but here I will throw these exception. Okay, so now this user object is created. So this user object I have to persist into a database. So the user repository we can use here, user repository dot save, and in save we can add here user. So what it will, this line will do, it will insert a new row into database. Okay, so return we can do here is response entity. Okay, the response entity dot okay, and we can return the newly created user actually. I did not stored directly, we can return. Okay, that's created. And then after saving, what we can do is we can set the display pics as null. Okay, and this method is completed now. Let's run this, and we will see. We will try to insert through Postman tool. So application is started. Let's open Postman here, and through Postman we can post some data. So here let's clear uh, others, and I will create a new request. The new request, my application is running on with 8080, so I have to use here localhost colon the port number 8080 and slash the user endpoint I created. So if you send the request, I'm getting 405 because I'm sending the get request, but I have defined post method. Okay, so I have to change here the post method. Then body. Okay, in the body I have written a request param, so I can send here the form data. So I have to select here form, and then I have to define here keys. Okay, okay, so whatever I have defined in the backend, the same thing we have to write here, that key only. So name I defined, so I have to use here name and its value. Okay, so anything you can write, and then we have to write the second key as a file. and the type will be file. Okay, and we can select any file from here. So any file, just you can go here and we can select any file and open. So I have added two fields in this form, that is name and file. Let's send the request. So if you send the request, I'm getting 500 actually. So the 500 error, let's see why we are getting the 500 error. So you can scroll here up and you can see the data truncated data too long for the column display pics at row number one. So there is something issue with the display pic column which was created. Um, so we'll have to make the changes something in the display pic. So okay, open here user class. And in user class, what we can do is we have to change here actually. Okay, byte. So in the byte field, we have to write LOB. Okay, uh, uh, large object, binary object, and then large LOB. Okay, it's to store the binary data, and then we have to specify the length, what length I want actually. So the length for now. We can define anything a big length. Actually in the real time we should have validations, like it should be few KB of the image which we are storing in database. So we can restrict that. We can create in a front end, even in back end. Before saving we can check. So now we change this type of the column, this LOB. So we'll see if we refresh. So we should see here the type is medium blob. Okay, binary large object, actually its meaning here is binary large object, the type. Let's try. Now if you see, the data is stored. Now we get here it's 200 success response, and we got the data actually. Okay, so you can see here in the database, just select the user table and we should see the one data. So you can see here the ID is generated and the picture is stored in the binary format. So let's store here multiple user details. We can select multiple and we can insert in DV. Okay, so I inserted here the multiple data, four data I have inserted into database. Okay, so now what I have to do is we can create one more endpoint that will return the list of all user. Okay, so here I added LOB. So added LOB, you have to remember, if you want to store binary data, so we have to make it LOB. Okay, so let's create a get mapping to get the list of all users. So all users means it will return the list of user, meaning the username and ID and the image as well. Okay, so we can create here a method get all user, and we can write like user repository dot find all. So find all method, it will return the list of all user from the user table. Okay, and we can store here somewhere in list. Okay, user list, and we can return. So we can write here return response entity dot okay, and in okay button we can pass actually response dot okay, and you can pass user list. Okay, so we should get here now the list of all user. Okay, if we send the get request, post request, then uh, that the first method will be called, and the get request means second method will be called. Okay, now the application is started. We'll go in postman tool to test this application. Okay, test this method. So select here the get and call the same endpoint. So we got 500 error. Let's check in the log. What is the error? So no default constructor for entity user root. So actually in user class we missed something. So let's open user. Okay, builder. So we have to add actually no or constructor. So no or constructor. So if you add no org constructor, so we require both here actually, all are constructor for builder. Okay, so we can add here all our constructor, and this is issue should be resolved. So let's rerun this application. So application is started now. Then go to postman tool. now to test this. Okay, so here we can open Postman tool and let's see. Yeah, we got here the response of all the user list, the four list we had, I mean, four user object and we got. So display pics, if you see, if you are, no, if you're returning the object, the list of user objects, it will automatically convert in a base 64 format. So that's all from backend. So now we have created API to insert new data and to get the list of all data. Okay, so here we will be creating here now the Angular application as a front end, and we will make the backend API call to insert and face user details. Okay, with images. So here I have opened the terminal and I will run the command ng new and the application name to create the new application. And we have to you know wait for some time so application is successfully initialized. And now we have to enter in that directory and we can run the command ngserve to start our application. So application is building now. Once build is done, so application will be started on the local host 4200. So we can open a browser here, localhost and 4200, and we should see some default design. So let's import this application in Visual Studio Code, and we will make the changes. So it is the app folder. We can see here the different files we have. So this is the index .html, which is the starting page, or yeah, that is the initial page. And we have the app component here. uh, so the app component .html, whatever we are seeing in that page, we are seeing from this page only. So we'll modify that. We'll write something our own text like Angular file upload and download example, and just we have to save. It will automatically reload if we are making any changes. So let's do some formatting. I will add some bootstrap classes like container, and for text we can write like text primary to make it blue color, and we can use the text center to show in center. So let's save and see in our page if we are seeing. So just we're not seeing the bootstrap is not reflecting here. Why? Because we have to add the bootstrap related dependency. Okay, I mean the bootstrap files, we have to run the command npm add bootstrap, okay, in our main application folder. And now the bootstrap file is added. And if you want to test this, we'll have to run again ngserve, and once application is started we can test here, but still it is not reflecting. It's not reflecting is because we have to specify so our Angular application will load the css file from that bootstrap file. Okay, so we have to copy the folder of bootstrap file, open angular.json and search for the tag key style, and we can add here that file. Okay, bootstrap.min.css. Now if we refresh this page, we should see the reflection. I think we need to restart our application. Maybe if we are changing the path in application.json, so just you stop and start again ngserve, and this time we should see the the bootstrap css classes. Yes, you can see here the basic format. Okay, so here let's make some more changes here. We can make it small like s3, and we can add here something header, I mean one of the horizontal rule. Okay, so there is something mistake here. We can refresh. Okay, uh, okay, here is the problem. Okay, so we should see now the horizontal role. Okay, so now what I will do is I will make the backend API call to get the list of all users, and I will show in the grid or all the images whatever we get from backend. Okay, so here we have the app component for that page, the component.html, that is the front end, you can say UI page, and here's the backend page for that particular component. So let's define the constructor, and in this constructor we have to write HTTP client. So HTTP client is we are using here one HTTP client to make the backend API call. Okay, so it will work as a dependency injection here. So we are adding in the constructor, so new object will be created and added. So let's create one interface user. So here we have to write the same property, whatever we're getting from backend. So you can see here username and we have the display pics. Okay, so the same structure, Pojo class we have to create here, username and display pics. Okay, that we have to write a string. We are getting image as a string, like as a base 64. And let's create define array here, or we can say it is list or array, whatever we say. Okay, and what we will do is we will implement one interface that is on init. On init there is one method, ng on init, which will be called when application is started. I mean, when this component is initialized, actually after that this method will be called. So here we can write the method or logics to make the backend API call to get the list of all user. Okay, so http client.get, and it is generic, so we can specify the type here, user array. And here in the method parameter we have to write URL, what API we are calling. So we have a localhost.8080 user, and we have to call subscribe method. Okay, and then subscribe, there are the two methods, actually the first two parameters that's take the function. So the first one will get the success one, second is the error. So let's print something on the error body, like error while fetching user list from backend. And in success we can like assign whatever we create a user list, in that list we can assign our response. Okay, so after getting the response, let's format this file. Okay, so here we will get the response, and we can print if you want in the log, like console.log. We will see in the browser log, actually this thing we got the response or not. So here we got some error like HTTP client, uh, no provider for HTTP client, actually. So we have to add actually module here, HTTP client module. So for adding the HTTP client module, we have to open here the file, which is app.config.ts, and we have the provider here array. So one of the parameters we have to pass, like we have to call import provider form. Okay, and here that we have to specify the HTTP client module. Okay, so then we'll be able to use this HTTP client. Okay, so let's save and refresh. Yes, we are not seeing that error now. So what we can do is, um, okay, uh, we can see here there is no error now. uh, so just I want to show you one thing. I will show in inspect, like what a response backs actually we are getting. So I can open here Chrome. In the Chrome I can show inspect. I don't know how to do that here. Okay, so let's see here. If you hit that page, the backend API call is happening. Okay, we are getting four data from the backend. Okay, that is the four array, user object you can see. Okay, that's why I printed here in the success response console.logger. Okay, so what we can do now, we have to actually create one division where I will show the images. Okay, image list and user name, actually. So we can create container, and in this container we can write something, row we can write however we want, you can define here. So here I can write like one division is for that is the column. Okay, so the call is md4 5 whatever, as per your requirement we can write. And the important thing here is we have to write for loop. Okay, and the ng for we have to write. And okay, so one star. So let's user and of list we have to pass. So data we are getting in user list, so we have to write in user list. Okay, just like a for is loop. So after getting, let's create a card. In card I will show the list of all images. So in the card is created. Now what we have to do is we have to make some changes, remove this body. I want to show title and title. I mean, I will show the name of the user, and I will show the images. Okay, but see, if you're using ng4 here in this latest Angular 17, we have some issue here. Okay, ng4 if you want to use. So if you want to use ng for then we have to add this module actually import. So import, we have to use some common module, okay, to remove that error we should not see in the console. Now we are seeing something different. Okay, older I mean the team is not a valid actually here src, so just I can rise right has for now. Okay, now the error is gone. So we can see here the four what is it called, template we can say, or card here, because I'm not populating the data. So I will populate now here images and the name of the user. Okay, so let's set some width and height of the image and card. And here instead of title, I want to show the user name actually. So we can write in the curly brackets user dot username. Okay, so from the backend, I'm getting username property. Let's save here, and we should see. Okay, so we should see here that is the name. We can see here the now name and with the card. Okay, so we have to show the image. So let's write here src. Okay, and in src we have user dot display picture. Okay, so display pics we can write here in double quotes. Okay, src, and this is the base 64, so we cannot directly write that value string. If you want to show in an image, so we have to write here data colon image slash png uh, and base 64. Okay, and we can concatenate. Just save and see here we are seeing the images now. Um, so we can see the list of all users from the backend. And now we will write some text field, and the an option to select the file. Now I want to create a new data. Okay, so I will make that backend API call to create new records in database. Okay, so here we can write some label and text field. Like we can bind here ng model with our one of the property in our app component, that may be the username. And let's write input for file, sorry, type here file, and we can write ng model that file name. Okay, and I can define here something button, sorry, let's write button. Okay, and save. So on button click, what I want is I want to call one API. Sorry, I want to call function. Okay, so we can write here click event, and then we can write the name of the function which we want to call. Okay, so this is the basic structure of our input form actually we can say, and the two fields we just we added using ng model. So here we can define like username, that is a string. So we'll have to assign something, or we can make it, we can make here a quick fix if you want to make it undefined. Okay, and we can create for file as well. This is the fix actually. uh, okay, okay, that's fine. So we can write here the file name, and the file name and the type is again here we can write the file. Okay, so the two things we just bind it with the input fields, and here is the save method. Okay, so if you want to use control actually anything, so we have to import that from. Okay, so let's add some CSS classes on our this input control. So you can see user name and button and file is no, we can see in our page. So on the save method, what we have to do, we have to take the selected file and the username, and we have to post data to the backend API. So this dot HTTP client dot post we can write in here. We can write URL slash user, and as a second parameter we have to pass actually a form data. Okay, we are submitting the form data which will contains the username and the file field. Okay, so here we have to write one the form data object, new form data, and in this form data we have to append. Okay, so the field name, so append the field name I'm passing in the backend is what, uh, username I guess. Okay, let's say write for username, and this dot username what we are taking from input field, and append we can append here file. that is the file actually have written in the backend. So that key we have to write. Okay, so this dot file name. So let's try this application. I mean, let's run this, just format whatever we have. Okay, what I will do is now just print in the log, like the backend API is called, and saved. Okay, so save. Okay, so we'll call here subscribe method, and in subscribe we have to pass two function. Okay, the first one is for success one will be called, and a second for error. So here I'm using the lambda expression. Okay, so for the error, let's write something like if something happens, so we can print in the log, and I can print the complete log. So that will be error, and for the success response, just I can print something like console.log. Let's print the complete response log. Okay, and let's try here to save. There is no error in console. Okay, so the page is reloaded. Okay, we can see here the images. So add here the new name, and we can select the file. We can select any file here, and try to save. Okay, so we got some error. If you see here, post local host user. Okay, uh the strip failure response for this one. Okay, uh okay, okay, the error, it's something here. Okay, I got it. The local host. Okay, this was the port number actually here. I missed to add. Okay, so the okay, I added the port and refresh, and let's try again. So if you select image file, and let's try, click on save method, we got something cross origin related error. So the backend by default doesn't allow to call any other applications directly domain. So especially localhost here. So what we can do is we can allow from our backend. So for this, we can go here in our controller, we can write the cross origin, and the origin we can define, that is our Angular application host with domain. So localhost 4200 we can allow. So now this will allow to call from Angular application. Okay, so let's uh, try again something. Okay, so if you we tried again, so now this time we are getting something required request parameter name is not found. Actually, I have added here the username. It should be name. Okay, and let's try different image. Okay, so this time again I got something here. The require. Okay, the require part file is not present. Okay, actually I did mistake one here. The file name I'm getting, actually this file name parameter I have bound as a model, so it will give actually the name of the file. It's not going to give us the complete file actually. So for this, just I will add here the one event, and whenever the new file is selected, I can get that file actual object. Okay, so the change event, I can write one function, any function we can write anything, but on file selected event I'm writing. Okay, on that event, let's define a function. Okay, what I specified there, the same function I have to specify, and let's write that parameter, event parameter, and we can write here any. Okay, so from this event, what is called object, what we can do is we can get um, that file. So before that, just rename this parameter. It's not a file name now. We can say it is something what is called data. Okay, so let's write here selected file. We can say here, and selected file here. Okay, so there is no data in that field actually. So when the file is selected, we can do here this dot selected file equal to event dot target dot files. So we can have the multiple files, just I want to get from zero index. So what happen is whenever the new file is selected, we will get the actual file, okay, in selected file variable. So there is no error in console. Now I will try and to store new data. So select image here, and open, and click on submit button. Yes, we got the success response. See, our post method return the object once it is stored in a database. Okay, but here we are not seeing new data is stored, so we need to refresh. Yes, after refreshing, this data we got from backend. Okay, this data we got from backend. So what can I do is after saving, what I want is just I want to refresh the data. So there's a multiple way, but here what I will do is I will just again make the backend API call and you will get the data. So whatever the code I have written to make the backend call, I can extract in a separate function. So we can reuse. So I can call from on nginit. Okay. That the function name, let's write get user list. So I will call from here, and once the data is saved in when the backend API is called and we got the success response, we can call the same function again here to reload data, or we can say to get the latest data from DB. Okay, and what we should see here, if we add the new data, now we should see in our list, because the backend API will be called in a backend, it will get the new data. Okay, so let's try to add a new data here. Something we can write any name. Okay, and we can select the image here. If you want, we can select here anything and just click on save button. We should see. Perfect. Okay, so now this backend API we are calling, or we are storing here in our what it's called in this page. Okay, so this is all about calling the API, backend API from Angular to get the image uh, in base64 format, and the user details, and we are showing in the page. We are able to make the post call to store the data in our backend API. Okay, so this is all about Spring Boot and Angular application. If you have any question, you can add in your comment. I will try to answer, and I will post this changes in my public Bitbucket, or sorry, GitLab repository, and I will add in description. You can download the code and you can run it in your local or in your system. If you have any question, just you can ask. Thanks for watching.